So we've been on a study of how content works. And I want to tell you a little story. It's a story about you. You have something that you want to talk about. You have something you want to tell everyone. And it's opening night at your show. Now, if you notice, the problem is that there's only one chair. And that one chair is for the one person that's actually going to show up opening night to a show that you put on. Now, if that's not a problem, it's because you either have an audience, a way to promote and get an audience, or you have the third way, which is what I want to tell you. Think about Dr. Martin Luther King. He made a famous, the best speech of all time, "I have a dream." Still quoted to this day. An amazing speech. What if his opening night he gave that speech and there was one person in the audience? What if he had just walked over and given that speech at the back of a restaurant? What if he had given that speech in front of the Lincoln Memorial? See, there was a calling of people already going to be in the audience. There were tons of chairs, right? There were tons of people already in the audience. He had an audience, right? We're just going to fill this in with a lot of lines just so it symbolizes people, right? Okay, these are just tons of people. They were already there. Now, what if he had given the speech anywhere else? Would it have been a great speech? So it doesn't matter how great your content is, how wonderful you are at SEO. It does not matter any of that until you have an audience. And so the question becomes, how do you get, let's change that color right there. There we go. How do you get, we'll make it big here, big old fat arrow. There's the only question you need to answer. Now, I figured this out when I met a guy online by the name of John Morrow. And he had written he'd written everywhere. Kissmetrics, Forbes, Entrepreneur, everything, okay? But his way of talking about this talked about the music industry. And he said when you get a new band, right, there's a few things they need to work out, right? So Malcolm Gladwell talks about the 10,000 hours and how the Beatles became a famous band because they spent so much time playing. They played for years in this bad pool hall where there was 30 or 40 people showing up and they weren't even a good band yet. But then when it became time for them to actually get on, they'd already had so much stage experience. They had all their time in. He talks about it with the music business where opening night is actually the lead band. It's the openers. And they go on tour with the hot band. So that way you already know there's going to be a crowd full of people. And so a few of these people, this guy right here, and that guy right there, and that guy right there, and that guy right there, and this guy right here, and that lady, and this couple right here, and 4 or 5 others, right? Just spread out throughout the crowd, they would like band number 1. Okay? So they would actually go, hey, I really liked that sound. That sounded cool. I'm going to go back here and buy a t-shirt and a CD because I really like that band. That sounded cool. That's a 1. Ooh, that's terrible. Okay? And so these people became band number 1's fans. And they did that every night. And then they had band number 2 that was in the opener, right? I kind of did that weird. So these will be band number 2's fans. These will be band number 1's fans. We'll do the green for the green and the blue for the blue, and we'll put a few fans out. We got another couple. We'll put the couple over here this time. There's a couple sitting over there. They liked it a lot. And so as you look at it, what was happening, right? And then you've got Jay-Z. I don't know, right? We'll say Jay-Z comes on third, right? And these are all Jay-Z's fans. But what just happened is back here in the back, the t-shirts sold, the CDs that sold, the MP3s, downloads, iPods, whatever. Oops, I did that wrong. Let's fix it. Ooh, that was getting worse. Yeah, grabbed the wrong thing. So the CDs and things that sold back there in the back, the books, the title, then they got through with the show. They went back here and they encouraged them. They met their fans and they did this thing, right? I know I'm kind of dragging this out, but think about it. How did they get fans? How did these people get fans? Is they went to where the audience already was. And they performed opening for an act that was already going to pack out the crowd. And that got them a lot of notoriety. They had people that listened to it, and then they picked up a few fans in every city. And then when they come out with the big album, these are just little singles or their first album or whatever. Whenever they released the big one, boom, they could piggyback on the same label and push it out to these same fans that had already heard it. That's how the music business did it, right? Band 1 and Band 2 just played off the fact that Band 3, or Jay-Z in this, we put Jay-Z up here because he's pretty cool guy. Because they already brought a crowd. So Martin Luther King already had a crowd. So how do you do this? Well, you have to become Band 1 and Band 2. And the way you do that is right now your opening act, you are opening a website or a blog or a thing where you want to sell a thing, right? You got your website up here, right? You got your nice little groovy website or newspaper is what that looks like. It's a website, guys, okay? Trust me. This is a state-of-the-art website. So where do you go to get people to it? Well, you can either pay people there, which is like promotion. You can buy people there. You can pay a publicist, etc. Or you can go over here, right? And this is Forbes. This is some other blog that is huge in your niche. And you can learn how to write for your audience over here. And every week you could do something like 2 posts on your blog and 1 post over here on somebody else's. And you could just line these up and every week do that, right? And have 3 posts. And what's going to happen is you're going to start getting links and traffic, and that's all great. But the biggest thing is you're going to collect some fans. And that is the big momentum shifter for me. Is when I realized that I gained so much authority. I gained so much credibility. I impacted so many more people. I had so much bigger spikes. When I wrote a good column over here and it got to that front page right there, and that became people coming over here, and then I could collect the people over here with an email and then talk to them through the email. Then all of a sudden I wrote 1 over here, 2 over here, and then down here we'll call it our little email sign up, right? And now I got a list. And these are the most important things. When I have a list, I can fill the seats anytime I want to, wherever I want to send my list. If they have a list, they can fill the seats wherever they want to because they have a list. So I started looking for people that had a list. I started getting content and getting those people back to my content on their list. I started looking at a few services that would actually go out and promote to people that had a large social gathering and put my content in front of them. I'd put this content in front of them to drive more traffic here. And that was the big jaw-dropping moment for me. The big awe-opening experience was I had built a blog and posted a ton of stuff on my site before. And I heard this very familiar sound, if you've ever written anything. That sound sounds like this. Chirp, chirp. Chirp, chirp. It's crickets. I don't care how much I publish, 30, 50 blogs, 50 posts, whatever you want to call them. I wrote detailed pages, and I would get 10 or 15 visitors randomly. Just, I don't even know. Now, I started getting spam comments. We all get those. But the difference maker was absolutely the fact that when I started going out and finding people that already had a following, already had a stage, already had a known about them, and I learned how to write at a different level. Now, what did it take for me to get here where I could write on anybody's site? Well, first I started by writing on a few sites that were not huge. So I started writing on sites that were not huge. Okay, so I'm kind of changing this up real quick. So when I started here. I started on sites that had 1,000 page views per day. They were a smaller blog. The niche was either it matched my audience, entrepreneurs, or it was in line with them. It's where maybe there's a certain type of entrepreneur reading that. And then I would move up, and I would tackle this one. My writing took off when I got here. Now, I didn't say my audience took off, because I actually got more audience from here. But my writing, when I came up here and then went back down, they all responded better. And so I can only tell you what I've done. I can tell you for sure that there are two things I would do today. Okay? Number one is I would sign up for whatever we're selling. I'm only halfway joking. But I can tell you for sure that you need to take a writing class. You have to take a writing. I'm trying to color the corner in, and I'm really bad at it. I want to color the corner in. So I would say that number one thing is you got to take a writing class, and that's 100K, by the way. It's really bad. 100K right there. And so you have to take a writing class. You got to learn how to write, and a book's just not going to do it. You need someone that's actually going to show you writing, give you headlines, walk you through the big pieces of writing. And that needs to come first, because here's what really happened when I got here is that when I got here, I got an editor. And the editor, see down here, these were like me. These were people like me where they didn't have a paid editor for their pages. Up here, this was a paid, went to journalism school, real person that was editing posts. One of my first ones was SEJ, Search Engine Journal. And Kelsey at the time put me through hell. It took me, 2 weeks I sent it to her. We went back and forth. I actually didn't send it to her. I got recommended to somebody because one of these people knew her, so they sent it to her. Liked my writing and said, hey, you should try this out. I think this would be a really good story. I had already written a piece. And so I actually got it up, wrote it, and got it up. I put it all together, wrote it, and sent it to this person, my friend, that had become my friend from down here. They sent it to Kelsey. Kelsey did a check, and it showed us plagiarism. And it showed us plagiarism because I hadn't learned that even when you quote people, you don't put the quotes in until after, like I had done the full thing. I had pictures in the Word doc, etc. Well, you don't do the quotes and some of that stuff until you sent it a lot of times, because you don't want the quotes will show up as plagiarism, because they are. But you're citing who you got the quote from, but they're all over the internet. And so me and her went back and forth on a few of those. And once she figured out that I wasn't copying things from all over the internet, then she said, okay, let me take a look at it. And she literally sliced it and diced it. It came back with so much. I mean, it looked like it just had red ink all over it, right? It was just red, 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 red. And so then I took it and spent 2 weeks in an app called Hemingway. It's HemingwayApp.com, which helps you write in shorter, better sentences that are more impactful. I did that for 2 weeks, and then I finally got the post to the point that she was happy enough with it. I still read it to this day and cringe because it doesn't flow. Because when you don't write the post that way, coming back and editing it, you lose some stuff. It's really editing is very difficult, and it was a 5,000 word post with pictures, and I mean it was very detailed. I think I could have done today. I wish I could rewrite it. So had so many good ideas in there. But here's what I'm saying is that when people recognized me from here and I came over here, all of a sudden they all wanted to know me. It was like the coolest thing ever. But here's one last piece that I want to make sure you understand is we're talking about getting your audience. And I would say that you need to have a YouTube channel that you post a video a week. It doesn't have to be anything big. You need your LinkedIn, and they all need to be, all about your website in the name, right? And so this is your Twitter and your Tumblr and your Facebook and your Pinterest and your Reddit account and your YouTube and I'm sure I missed the social thing. But for me, it was Twitter. I went to like 30K fans, call them fans, 30,000 people there. I think on LinkedIn I got 5K people that follow me or whatever. On YouTube, on the old channel, I had about 2,500 at one time. We're kind of starting that over because I sold the Dominant Link site. Reddit, I have a pretty nice account there, and I can post karma, etc. But it's cool because I could post stuff over here, make the post on Reddit, and actually get it upvoted, and it gets to the front of that little subreddit, whatever I was posting in. Pinterest, I have probably 5K people that do it. And then on Facebook, it's kind of weird. I think I have 2,000 or 3,000 that follow Will at Market Brand, which is another old site. And so a lot of different things. But here's what I'm trying to say is over here is going to be a link to some of your social. Over here, people feel like making this jump, it feels difficult. It's fight or flight. They're going to land here and be like, I don't know if I can trust it. I've never heard of it. Ooh, I don't know this guy. I don't know this guy. But they'll make this jump. And when they make this jump, if they see something that's enticing from over here, a great headline, then you can get them to make that jump easier. So it's like a 1-2 hop. And if you can get them here in that, then you can feed them this. See how that works? Most people don't realize that about social, but social is you're gathering people from all over, putting them into a batch, and then feeding them stuff to where you want to send them. And then also, whenever you make a post here, that person may not see that, so you can actually, boom, you shout out about that post and do that link a few times, and now they're going over here, even though they may be from this blog, they came there, but now they go there. We'll make that red, you see it. So they came from down here. Boop. Joined your Twitter. Now you tweet out, hey, I just wrote this awesome SCJ post. They go read it. And when that happens, you can command traffic. And just because it's visual, I have a few places that you can go look, but this is pretty visual. So this one has 2,500 reads. This one has 9,500 reads. This one almost has 4,000, 5,000, 4,100, 5,500, and 3,000. This was the first post big post I ever wrote, right back in 2016. And I had written on some other bigger sites, but this would be the one that I would say turned the corner for me. And so I made like little cool content like this, right? About how you would get to me. Like how did you get such a big Twitter audience? And then what is it, and even back then I was teaching the same exposure to content versus advertising. I was teaching this stuff more for the benefit of writing it, but I mean it's a huge long post. It's very in-depth, and I love the post. I actually still read this one. There's very few of mine that I still read, but if you look at if you hit things just right, and you can actually get to where this happens, and your site just naturally gains people. And a lot of that is social comes through every time you tweet something, a headline, and you can have, let's say you've got this many articles that are really worth talking about, and you may tweet another whole batch down here of 30 or 40, but every time one of these comes up, boom, that guy hadn't seen it, he goes over there and reads it. He comes back over here and reads that one, every time back and forth. And so every once in a while you can catch something that goes really crazy. And I'm going to try to show you a number here. It's going to load for a second. So I hope that's making sense. You wanted to build an audience. You went over here and started writing other places. You're leeching off their audience. But you can't just just because they read you here doesn't mean they're automatically going to come here. You want to have that person read and go into either an email list or one of your socials. Okay? All right. And then when you hit it, great. There's kind of what this one article did. 153,000 unique visitors over the course of a day or two. There are a couple of 100,000 visitors. And so as you see, I mean, this thing, it pulls in traffic. I mean, this is Feedster. But that's it. You want to collect people here, and then I would add down here your email list. And so the main thing I want to make sure you know is you got to have, you're trying to collect people and send them back through to articles. Now, we'll talk next about how do you take all this and make money with it. That's the really cool parts. But I wanted to make sure that we understood how do you actually get fans? How do you build an audience from scratch?